I showed part of one of our podcasts to a colleague today.
Oh God, is that why you've had an exasperating week?
No, it's not, and it really excited him seeing our little animation.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Which is why I showed it to him, because I thought he'd enjoy it. And he was asking me loads of questions like, how do you make it? How do you record it? Blah, blah, blah. Which what
a guy.
Yeah, I mean, we were stuck in a broken down vehicle for like 2.5 hours, so we.
Well, was he also like, okay, if I didn't want to see this appear in my feed, hypothetically,
how could I blacklist this? So it never sullies my retinas again.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Scrambled Checksum podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kieran, who this week I have actually been at a networking event where the food was all on sharing platters to facilitate conversation. So I have been living hell. Ethan, my co-host, what is your thoughts on that whole setup?
Not very hygienic.
Well, it wasn't like finger food.
Okay. Well,
the hygiene was
then?
probably my least concern.
Well, the social hygiene.
It was the social hygiene, really. Yeah. It was as soon as I heard about it, it was just like, this is my idea of hell.
How could I thought the definition of a sharing platter was like, what do you mean? Like, it was finger food? I'm thinking so. It wasn't like hors d'oeuvres being handed around.
It wasn't hors d'oeuvres. It was every course was like they will bring a big plate of food, and then you'd all have to like pick off of it.
Did you have your own plate as well?
We had our own plates as well.
So like a buffet kind of thing.
Kind of like family style, I guess you might also call it. Not so much like a buffet, because buffets I feel like are designed for that kind of portioning.
Okay.
More like you were doing the job of someone in the restaurant who would normally plate up the food for you.
Oh. Wow. So it was like a worse experience, presumably for more money.
Yes, and also...
Fantastic.
Also, I can't think... Like, it was so awkward. It was horrendous. I felt myself dying inside. The idea of that to facilitate conversation. One of the dishes was...
Did it work?
No, absolutely not. One of the dishes was a small chicken.
Okay.
So can you imagine trying to carve chicken?
I feel like that's not a very good sharing dish either, because like,
none of them were good sharing dishes.
Someone's going to get the bum deal, aren't they? Like, I mean, as a vegetarian, I obviously don't really know a whole lot about
I feel
chicken,
like
it's not a uniform thing. Like if you were sharing out, say, like, I don't know, like a lasagna or something, like any slice of lasagna is pretty much a slice of lasagna for the most part, isn't it? But like a chicken, like you've only got two legs, and then you only got like the different bits, and like someone's just going to end up with like the intestines or whatever.
Well, that bit is pre-removed. I'll put it into
just going to get a lump of chicken shit on a stick.
Oh no!
I don't know what you carnivores eat.
Okay, I'll put it into different terms. So one of them was like half an aubergine.
Oh, interesting. Was it stuffed or something, or was it literally just?
It was like a kind of open aubergine sandwich.
Huh.
So it was like an aubergine with like pomegranate bits on top of it.
Okay.
So you imagine you have that put in front of like four of you on a plate, but all you have is a knife and fork.
Yeah.
And then you've got to kind of cut bits off of it.
Huh.
But then the skin's kind of too tough, so your like knife that you've got with your plate doesn't really cut through it. So you're like trying to hack through this piece of aubergine.
Yeah.
And there's like three other people waiting for you to do it.
Usually aubergine, in my experience, is not great. And like an aubergine skin is really tough.
It's hard to cut through, right? You imagine trying to cut through an aubergine with a butter knife.
Even with a sharp knife, like it's like it looks like it shouldn't be tough, but
it's too flexible. It's like it conforms to the knife. And
back when I had HelloFresh, I quite a few of the recipes had aubergine in them, and subsequently I ended up having to peel quite a few aubergines.
Oh.
And Jesus Christ, that was a pain in the arse. It was, I mean, it was semi worth it, because aubergine, it's quite, I don't know, it's one of those, I probably wouldn't eat it on its own, but it is very good at soaking up flavour, and then the texture is kind of good when it's in sauces and stuff. It's quite nice roasted.
This was like, it tasted good. These were roasted, but like,
Yeah.
it was so awkward.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the only thing that would have made it more awkward is if I'd have been, feeling a bit health conscious, wanting to kind of make sure I was eating healthily, and if I'd have been like, "Hey, AI pin, how many calories are in this piece of aubergine?"
Or
And it would be like,
hey, AI pin. Why is this guy walked up to me smoking a cigar and he's not even mentioned it?
call back to the last episode there. Yeah, and then the AI pin would have probably been like, an entire aubergine has 2 calories.
That sounds that sounds
and you're
inaccurate.
like,
I was
"Wait,
about
that
to say
doesn't-"
that doesn't sound right, but
And
that
you're like,
probably
"Wait, that
is the
doesn't-"
kind of answer that it would give.
Yes. So speaking of AI pins,
Yeah. There's going to be, I think, probably a bit of an AI theme around this episode. Although I don't directly want to talk about AI pins as such. It's more of a gateway into a broader topic, I think.
interesting.
So, you...
Speaking of AI, if I may re-segue.
go on.
Yeah, no, go ahead. That was the segue.
Oh, okay. Right.
It wasn't really a segue as such, was it? It was just like, here's the topic.
Yeah, it was more of a just let's railroad Ethan's train of thought until he forgets what he was about to say. And
No, what were you going to say?
I can't remember, Kieran. No, it wasn't a broader topic of AI. It was more a broader topic of... So, well, just to start off, for those who don't know, the AI pin and the Rabbit R1 are both devices that have been released into the world in the past few weeks. I don't know whether there's any members of the public who've got them, but certainly reviewers are getting their hands on them. And the whole premise is that they are a smart device that you carry with you that your primary interaction with is through voice, and also so you can ask it questions like, what am I looking at, as Kieran alluded to, or like, how many calories are in this, and in theory it can use its machine learning magic, large language model, computer vision, blah 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 blah, to give you something useful. Now I'm not going to go into a load of detail about how well it does that, because you can watch a load of reviews and maybe in a year it'll be very different. What I more wanted to talk about is this. So I feel like if you rewind to 2007 and the launch of the iPhone, would you agree that the kind of clear vision of the future was the everything device, like a thing that you can carry around, and the aspiration is that this will one day do everything that you could possibly want a computational device to do on
Yeah,
the
I
go?
think you could even probably take it back. I mean, I was thinking, God, I thought you were going to start talking about the Black Eyed Peas when you said about going back to 2007, so I'm relieved it wasn't that. But yeah, going back to I think it goes back even further, right, to even things like the Apple Newton.
Yeah.
And like the PDAs and stuff like that. Their whole thing, wasn't it, was just one
But
device.
they were always accessories to whether I feel like the smartphone was the first
I don't know, I
portable
think they're
device to try and do those sorts of things and not be an accessory to a computer that you come back and then do
I
the
think
real
those
work
old-
on the...
I think those old Windows PDAs used to advertise themselves as like a desktop that you could like carry around with you, though.
Okay, fair enough.
And they were like, oh yeah, this is like having a computer, but you're carrying it around, but it's not like a laptop because it's more portable.
Yeah.
I think they were very ambitious. It wasn't that, obviously, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's been like a goal for a long time, right? You carry it around in your pocket and it does everything you could need from a handheld little brick.
Yeah. So, I guess I've got a series of questions. I'm going to put them all out on the table in one go, and then we can address them as we go. So, this Rabbit R1 and the AI pin, as far as I can tell, they are not intended to replace the smartphone. That is not their goal. And if it was their goal, they certainly are not capable of it currently. They're just woefully lacking in features in order to do that, for a start.
Yeah.
So one, my first question is, why is that? Why would you want that? Is that something we even want? That's my first question.
Right.
And two, the second question is the march towards the everything device something that, if we assume it is possible to eventually have a smartphone that and a form factor in a smartphone that basically means it is able to replace your tablet and laptop and blah blah blah, like, yeah, if you have a larger form factor, you're always going to be able to cram more power into it, blah 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 blah. So desktops are always going to have more power, but you won't necessarily need all that power. So you don't necessarily need a desktop. That's kind of... So is the march towards that, assuming it's possible, is that a good thing? Or is having discrete devices for certain purposes better for various reasons? Question mark.
I've got a bit of a hot take.
These are my questions. This is what this has conjured up in me, seeing these two devices in the last few weeks. These are the questions, and I'm not sure I know the answer. Because the other thing I'm thinking is, like, with how useless these two devices seem to be, why wouldn't you just put the functionality in speech marks in a smartphone app, and then or in a smartphone, like release a smartphone, and then the smartphone can be good at being a smartphone, and then whilst you develop these features, like, these features could be a major selling point of said smartphone, but at least it wouldn't be completely useless while these features just don't work.
Yeah, I mean, I think I got a bit of a... I don't even know if it's really a hot take here, but...
A tepid, a reasonably temperatured take.
A lukewarm... like a take that you'd kind of have a bath in.
Okay.
Like, you know, sometimes when you're running a bath, you put your hand in, you're like, bloody hell, that's too hot.
Have a good,
put a bit of cold in that.
A good stew in with some nice
candles.
You're
like, you dip a toe in and you're like, oh, that's a bit too hot.
Have we got any bubble bath, floating candles, that sort of thing?
Nothing too excessive. It's just maybe some bath salts. Nice
cider on the go.
Small up cup. just slip under the water as you pass out. Not quite to that extent. No, it's just
toaster on the side to knock in if you get too upset.
So the tepid take that I've got is, I don't think any of this stuff will ever have a point, and it could date poorly, but like, so I'm thinking best case scenario for like the pin is, say it actually works and it can do all the stuff and it's really fast, because that was another problem, right? You had to say a command and then it would take ages because it would have to fetch it from an API call. So say that was all like instant. I don't get what advantage the fact that you talk to it has.
See, I thought the selling point was minimalism, so the idea is that it would replace your phone, but it doesn't seem to be capable of doing that.
And I don't know why you would want it to. I could see a very, very niche use of it because of the privacy side of the fact that it doesn't constantly record. You have to, which I thought was cool on the Humane pin, where you had to press a button.
Oh well, it claims it doesn't constantly record.
Well,
however, it does have a camera literally strapped to your chest, looking straight at whatever you're doing all the time.
Got the same. That's got the same problems as Google Glass and all that.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. Why would you not just make that a privacy-centric phone? And then it's got all the features, but it's got no wake word. So it's like it's just a phone, but it doesn't have a wake word, and it does a lot more stuff. And yeah, I think we.
You see that? Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, I don't understand what the point of them is. Like,
no,
I thought to a degree it was the whole, like, you know, the quote unquote dumb phone revolution sort of thing, where it's like trying to get people away from, like, give people the kind of necessities that we have in the kind of smartphone, because you kind of need one for a lot of stuff in modern day, like whether it's getting a taxi or just like navigating or paying for things, or like giving you all the convenience of that, but it literally is incapable of doom scrolling through Twitter or going on Instagram or any of these things. Like, when I first saw, like, the concepts announced, I assumed that was going to be their angle, but it doesn't appear to be.
I don't get it either, because surely with that kind of stuff, I don't know. I don't know if it's just with how I use my phone, but like, you can set all the digital well-being stuff to kick you off of Twitter and kick you off of the other stuff. And but
you can always just turn it off, though, can't you? So
yeah, I know the temptation's there.
Like that's why people. That's the argument for a dumb phone, is it's literally can't do it. So you can't even be tempted to.
I've never been tempted to go on Twitter, ever.
Well, me neither.
It's like when I don't have Twitter on my phone. I never use the account.
The only time I've ever used it was for looking up specific information that I knew had only been posted on Twitter, like usually rocket launch related stuff. And as soon as I stray any distance from that, I instantly regret it and close the app.
Yeah, the only time I ever use it is when something's gone down, like a website or a service or my internet. And then I just go on there and look to see if anyone else has reported it within like 10 minutes, because it's usually too slow for like down detector comments and stuff to have updated.
Yeah.
But I've never like got my phone and be like, God, let's see what's on Twitter. I know it's a thing. Some people like.
Well, I mean, other social medias though as well. Like, I mean, I definitely, before I uninstalled all the social media apps from my phone, I did find myself scrolling through, and but since I uninstalled them, that for me that's been enough of a boundary. But I do still find myself like that. I still have that habit of opening my phone, and even though but now it tends to be I'll open my phone and go, oh yeah, I haven't got anything to look at. I know, I'll check the weather.
Even doom scrolling the weather.
Just, oh no, it's gonna rain again. Oh, yellow warning for thunderstorm. Oh, fuck off.
Have you had to set digital wellbeing on your weather app? Yeah. No more than 5 minutes per day of even looking at the weather.
Yeah, or I'll just, or I find myself just like scrolling through my YouTube feed and like knowing I've only got like 30 seconds of reprieve in between tasks and going, oh, that video's too long, that video's too long, that video's too long. Okay, all the time's wasted now. So I do still have that nervous habit, but I feel like I probably would, even if I got a dumb phone, I'd probably still do that. I'd just like pick it up and fiddle with it. It's more like a fidget toy, I guess, than like,
yeah,
I don't know. So
yeah, either like Ethan's looking at 2026 weather forecasts. He's been on there for hours just doom scrolling through weather forecast after weather forecast. No, I don't know. I never have that temptation to open up like social media and just scroll through it. I just find it boring.
Yeah.
But I get that like it is a feature of them. But yeah, to like go back to your question about the pins and stuff like that. I don't know what, like the glasses too are the same thing for me. It's like, even if they were flawless and worked as the kind of vision for them is, and they were like, oh, you can record all your memories from a very awkward angle and not see what you're recording while you're capturing it. I guess with the glasses you see it through your eyeballs, but still, it's like,
yeah, in the same way that on an old cheap 35mm film camera, you look through the viewfinder and it's kind of probably what the photo will be of.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, I just don't see the point of any of them, and I don't see them ever catching up with a phone and then surpassing it, because the phone is always going to be ahead because they sell a lot more of them.
Well, to me, it's basically what both of them are. They're both smartphones, but with all the benefits of a smartphone removed.
Yeah, it's and like, surely they could all just be apps, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, why?
Or an OS.
Like, because literally all it is, I'm pretty sure Marquez said the Rabbit R1 is literally running. I can't remember what processor, but it's a processor that's literally in like $100 smartphones, basically.
Yeah, and
so
couldn't the
there's no special source hardware wise.
And couldn't the Humane pin just be an app?
Yeah, I don't see why it couldn't be.
I don't see why it couldn't just be like an app, and you use a much better camera that's on your phone that you can actually control where it points.
Yeah,
instead of having
and
to
also
lift things up to it.
The screen as well, instead of that projector projecting onto your hand, which is kind of like, it's cool from a sci-fi perspective in terms of like in sci-fi worlds, sometimes you have things where people have like an embedded device in their hand, or like Total Recall, when you have a thing in your hand and you put it up to any piece of glass, and then you've got a video screen on any piece of glass or whatever. like I get it from that, but it's like one of those like things that you'd maybe do for a cool cosplay, not for an actual functional reality thing, isn't it? It's like,
it does feel like you're cosplaying someone from the future, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's like, if you buy one, that's what you're buying it to do. You're like, look, I can
and
project
it's
a thing on my
really
hand.
fucking expensive, the AI pin, and you have to pay a subscription.
Yeah, and that I get it, because you have to pay. They have to pay for the data.
Yeah,
But it's
but the
you already
rabbit
pay for data.
R1 would be is a smaller pill to swallow. I feel like that one maybe has more chance of success than the AI pin, but I just don't. I just
Like, what-
I just
yeah,
don't
even if they were
understand what the
perfect.
I don't understand what the use case is.
No, and I think even if they were perfect, I'd be like, this is still more fiddly than using my phone. Like, oh, you can talk to it. You can talk to your phone.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, okay, hypothetically, because we had an experience in between recording. I sent you a screenshot in the last couple of weeks, didn't I, of a conversation I had with Claude AI via DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about you and Claude. To be honest.
Yeah, we've been spending a bit of time together, getting to know each other, you know.
Am I about to be? Is this where I'm getting replaced by Claude?
he's a pathological liar, but you know, he's just so cute. So
You can change him.
I can fix him. Yeah.
Is Claude about to replace me? Is that what this conversation is?
Nah, listen, Kieran. So I've booked us a meal tomorrow. We need to have a chat.
Oh no! The podcast is going in a different direction.
Yeah, it's not
And
you.
you wish me
It's,
well
it's
for the
not.
future.
It's not you. It's me.
Oh no! And you wish me all the best for the future, and we can still be friends.
Yeah.
But...
There's a lovely co-op just round the corner.
Oh no! There's somebody else, isn't there? No. I can compete with Claude.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I sent you that screenshot, didn't I? Where I was kind of like, I'd asked it a question. I think it was about. I've been doing some research trying to find a laptop for my mum.
Oh yeah, and it was it gave you a bunch of laptops
yeah.
that didn't meet your spec.
Yeah, well, it was the same old thing with ChatGPT that we're so familiar with. Obviously, Claude is not ChatGPT; it's another large language model. But the confidently wrong thing, like, was like of full display here. So
yeah, you were like, "Oh, this is pretty cool," and then you're like, "Wait, scratch that. None of these meet what I'm looking for."
Yeah. So basically, I asked it. I'm looking for a laptop in the £500 to £600 range. Great British pounds, that being, with upgradable RAM and storage. Preferably, it will have an IPS display with a 16:10 aspect ratio and a Ryzen 5 or Intel i5 processor. And it gave me a list of. To be fair, it wasn't that it was completely wrong, in that the laptops it gave me all had either an Intel Core i5 or a Ryzen 5 processor. They all had IPS displays. Apart from one which had an OLED, but you know that's not so much of a problem because it did highlight it's an OLED, not an IPS. The problem was, and I don't know whether this is so much of an issue with Claude or more the reason that I asked Claude in the first place, is it told me that these options all had upgradable RAM, and it turned out that none of them did. Not a single one.
I think they're helpful to a fault, though, aren't they? Because they'll be like, "Oh, I won't just say no. They don't. There's nothing that exists that meets this spec."
Well, that's the thing. It does. There is things that exist. It's really, really, really hard to find anything that does. Not because it doesn't exist, but because it's becoming the norm for it to not be, and reviews or spec sheets don't list it as a feature. So you basically, the only way, you have to find a laptop that's kind of the specs. Then you have to look online, and hopefully there's an article or a review in some form where they discuss the repairability, or they do a teardown, and then you can find it. And it got to the point where I literally basically was like, right, I'm pretty sure this laptop has upgradable RAM, but I'm going to have to order it, and then when I get it, I'll make sure it powers on first, and then I will take the bottom off, double check, and then if it doesn't, I'll reset it and send it back.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know whether it's so much its fault, but that's kind of beside the point. It was confidently wrong, and this is the same issue that these AI pins have. So if they weren't confident, if they were accurate, would that change anything?
Nah, because you'd still use your phone, wouldn't you? Like, what difference does it make if you can point it at a thing on your chest?
Yeah.
Like, even if it worked perfectly every time, to me, there's no benefit whatsoever to being able to hold something up to my chest compared to getting my phone out and opening an app.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
Maybe it'll be like a 5 or 10 second delay.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth it because I'll look like an absolute pillock while I'm holding this thing up to my chest.
I agree. I think it's the same. It's the same thing with the, like, it's kind of a cool piece of tech. It's the same thing as like with the Apple Vision Pro. Cool, but what the fuck are you going to use it for?
Yeah, I feel like
what is its actual purpose?
I think people would be way more excited about having an update to having a new model of, I don't know if you agree, but I feel like people would be way more excited if there was an update to the flagship smartphones that doubled the battery life.
Oh, 100%.
Like, that's way more, people would care about that way more than they care about something that pins to their chest and they can point at a thing. Like, even if the phone didn't get any better, it's just like, it'll last twice as long on a charge.
My phone my phone is fast enough, the cameras are good enough, the audio quality over Bluetooth and its headphone jack, good enough. It charges fast enough. You know, it transfers files. It does everything I need it to do perfectly. But I would love it to have more battery life.
I think everyone's in the same boat. They're
I would love to not have to worry about charging it. I'm literally my phone's battery life is so atrociously bad that I literally I charge it for the day, but if I know I'm going to be going out in the evening, I make sure I charge it again probably around halfway through the afternoon just to make sure it's going to last me the evening.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are in the same boat where it's like their phone is absolutely fine and all they need really from it now is just that it lasts longer.
I could also do with some security patches. That would be quite nice because it hasn't had a security patch since 2022, so please don't hack me.
That's just like software though, isn't it? It's like I think stuff like especially a flagship, like now if you bought like a flagship today, when the hell would you ever need to upgrade it if the battery lasted slightly longer?
Yeah, you wouldn't.
And you could use it for everything. You can do the voice chat's really good. There's like AI assistant stuff that works really well.
It's all software, like
yeah. You could get the humane thing as just. You could even do it as if you were really wanting to go heavy on the like feature phone stuff. Why not just release an OS that's like it doesn't have the Google Play Store, doesn't have any of the social media apps. In fact,
something like graphene, you mean?
Yeah, but like why would you not have a thing where you could like I don't know if it must be possible, but it's probably very difficult, but having a way to like dual boot your phone. So you'd have the full Android, the full iOS, but then you could also have like feature mode and you've just got no apps. You can call and text and speak to Claude. And then you can just reboot it into Android if you want to use your social media.
One to ponder. I feel like I might. I feel like I've seen.
It must be possible. I'm sure someone's done some homebrew thing where you can.
I've seen people dual boot iPhones, or like Apple devices of that ilk, but it's kind of jank. It's because it's like. Basically, every time you switch operating system, it resets everything. So that's what I figured. Persistent storage between the two. So it's like, yeah, but
and I'm sure someone has done it. It's probably incredibly complex, but I'm sure someone on the internet has got a phone that can dual boot. I guess it's difficult at the minute because what are you going to dual boot between? Like, you're not going to be able to run iOS on an Android device, are you? And vice versa. I mean, there's probably someone has done something like that.
There are people who have got Android running on iOS devices. Not very well, but they did manage to get it running.
It's not something that like you or me could follow.
It's more of a just like I want to watch the world burn kind of thing rather than anything that's actually practical.
Yeah, it's like someone with a ton of knowledge of how like their phone operating system works and how the hardware works, and they've like managed to get it to cobble it together just to run. But
I think it only works on. I think it was like an iPhone 4 or something. They got like Android 6 running it on or something. But basically, all the features didn't work on it. Like it technically it was running. That was the best thing you could say about it. Like, it was running. There was a GUI. You could tap on app icons, and some of them opened. Mainly just like settings and stuff. But technically the OS was running. It just wasn't very useful.
But imagine if you had like a modern phone and it had Android on it, and then you could just like either reboot it, or you probably wouldn't even need to go to that extent. You could just like tap an icon and it would put it into like feature phone mode.
I feel like that possibly is
probably
a thing.
do like a close enough.
I feel like that because I know a lot of people do stuff with you can get custom launches, like minimalist launches and things, and there's I've been playing around a little bit with a tool off of GitHub called Universal Android Debloater, where it basically pretty much allows you to uninstall any application from your Android phone.
So you can get rid of all the Google ones that you don't use.
You could get rid of literally. You could get rid of applications to the point where your phone will literally be bricked. But so you have to kind of be careful with what you're doing with it. But I've been playing around with another phone because you basically just have to enable USB debugging and everything, and then you use the Android debugging command line tool, and then if you've got that, then you can launch this tool, and it's got a GUI and everything, and like a database of things. So there's some guides online and stuff, so you can kind of muddle your way through it. But you could with that, like, you could remove those and then put a custom launcher on. I know that there is a custom launcher that kind of it kind of reminds me slightly of the Windows 10 mobile, how it had the tiles, but then if you went all apps, it had just like an alphabetical list of apps. Yeah. Basically, the launcher looks like that. There is a launcher that does that, so it's just a very kind of like functional, nothing flashy to grab your attention. Literally just like text that says phone, contacts, messages, things like that.
Yeah. So could someone obviously that's a lot of faffing for almost every user, apart from the enthusiast. But could someone not just make that, and then it's got like something like the humane pins AI thing with
it's
no
almost
wake
it's
word.
just a shame that a certain Carl Pei went and stole this trademark already, because you could call it the nothing phone, and I feel like it actually makes sense.
But like that. Why would you want it on your chest if you could just have a device that you're already definitely going to own? Yeah. And then you could just switch it into feature phone mode with an AI assistant.
Even my grandpa has a smartphone, and he's 83.
Yeah, so you just do that, wouldn't you? And then you could have an AI thing that ran in your feature phone mode with no wake word, and that could be there's no hey.
Samsung's way ahead of the game. The Bixby button. That's what everyone needs. The Bixby button.
Yeah, exactly. You just do that, so you don't have to say hey name.
Or do you remember back in the day when Siri first came out and it was hold the home button?
Yeah, exactly. You just do something similar. Obviously, phones don't have buttons anymore, but
yeah.
You could bring that back, and then why would you ever buy this pin?
Yeah,
because you're already paying for the data.
And then we could dedicate
phone.
the resources that went into maybe doing something like making race cars that are driven by computers.
That's the real use of AI, racing cars.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, just get that into the F1 grid.
Yeah. Well, as it turns out, someone else had that idea, and we're going to move over to our trackside correspondent, Kieran. Got any comments on this, Kieran?
Oh my god, where to begin? It's I'm not going to rag on them too much for all of the problems that they had. I'm struggling to see what the point of it would be. I
mean, I guess, should we address the elephant in the room in the first place? It was pretty fucking funny.
It was a disaster. I love that they chose Yas Marina as the circuit. Probably one of no one likes that track, do they, for F1?
I don't know, to be honest.
It's not popular. Not many people like Yas Marina, so it's on a shit track. I get it. It's probably because of the sponsors of the series and stuff like that. They
Yeah.
had to do it there, but so it was on a track that lots of people don't like. I believe. I'm not as in touch with F1 as I used to be. But this whole series is bizarre. It was a disaster. So they had cars that just turned into the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is quite...
It was just fucking hilarious. The if we remember, we'll link the video that I saw came up in my feed and I shared with Kieran. But just the
what was quite interesting
pathetic,
was
wasn't it? It was just.
I don't know if you saw the reason for when they all stopped.
I cannot remember, to be honest.
So what happened was one of the cars span out.
Oh yeah, it was under the safety car, and they took the no overtaking rule way too seriously. They were like, it wouldn't overtake a broken down car.
Yeah, so everyone just stopped, which was quite impressive in the sense that they followed the yellow flags.
Yeah.
But what was the point of it? What's the idea behind it? Is it because surely when it gets good, it'll become kind of like all of the AIs will be just as good as each other, and then no one will win. Well, or someone will win, but it will be on such fine margins that everyone will just be driving around in like perfect sync.
Yeah. But also,
just like the real F1.
I've been thinking about this. Yeah.
So no overtaking.
Max for AI-ston.
Yeah.
It turns out he is an AI. He's the Terminator.
It turns out none of the drivers in F1 actually drive the cars at the minute. It's just all...
No, it's a bunch of nerds with PlayStation controllers and IBM, whatever keyboards.
To be fair, I think sim racing is more exciting than current F1.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it's human beings actually race. Like, there's overtaking.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, it's not just like Max on pole and Max leads every lap and wins.
Yeah, apart from that one race where he broke down.
Yeah.
And then he didn't win. But
I mean, that was probably if they'd have had a second car, he could have taken the time that he'd lost breaking down.
But they're not allowed to not allowed to get out the car, are they?
Exactly. But if they'd have had a second car, he could have probably got out, had a shower, come back, got him a second car, probably been about 2 laps down, come around and still won.
Yeah, still have easily beaten Perez. Yeah, I think the thing that interests me, I guess. I mean, I get it because like the argument for doing it, same argument for why they pile money in. People pile money into F1 or historically car manufacturers have piled money into F1 is because it's a good catalyst for development of technologies that will trickle down into the broader market that they can actually sell and make money from.
Yeah, it's like win on the Sunday, sell your cars on Monday.
Yeah, and it comes with the prestige and stuff. So I guess you can apply the same argument in if we had to assume that in the future we are going to have like autonomous taxis and stuff commonly available and driving around and stuff. If say Waymo has an AI race team and everyone's rooting for it, maybe they're more likely to get a Waymo taxi instead of a whatever other like open taxi ketchup sauce or whatever. Fucking.
What's interesting is that the companies that were doing it, I'd never heard of any of them. And then if you imagine you're a Waymo, right, and you have one of these cars, how risky is that? Because you're like an AI-driven taxi provider, and on Sunday your car goes full speed straight through a corner and plows into the wall and explodes. Like,
and there happens to be somehow there's a cyclist there as well. He just sees the cyclist and just plows straight into them on purpose. It's just like,
somehow there's a bunch of traffic behind them on their commute that gets blocked by it.
Yeah.
But I feel like they'd never get an AI taxi provider to.
I just don't understand what the possible parallel like crossover could be. I guess machine vision, I guess, but like I feel like machine vision isn't really the roadblock at this point for the development of self-driving cars, is it? Really, it's more just it's more like just predicting what things are going to do, not being able
on
to
a road.
identify discrete objects.
Yeah, it's like handling edge cases and dealing with like weird weather conditions.
So I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not an expert.
But if you think about it from like what you were saying with the manufacturers, that makes sense, because if you're a car manufacturer, like you're Mercedes, and you've got all the adverts of your car winning races. I mean, not so much now, but you've got the historical photos of your cars winning races, then that makes sense. And if your car crashes into a wall because Lewis makes a mistake, that doesn't reflect badly on the manufacturer. But it's like these cars, it would be as though you had an F1 team's car, but they broke down every week on lap one.
Yeah.
Like it would be an active problem. So, and I feel like as well, it wouldn't really be, if you were Waymo and your car won, would you really want like, oh, I'm going to go in the taxi who's, like your impression would be, oh, they drive really fast and
take the most risks.
Yeah, take the most risks. So like, they got like a can you imagine that you do like a Waymo AI F1 car or whatever, does like a really high risk overtake and pulls it off.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, I don't know about these guys. I think the only people that make sense for...
Sign me up.
The only people it makes sense for are compute providers. Yeah. So, like, AWS would make sense. Because if the car crashes, you're not going to be like, oh, that car crashed and blew up, just like my
Microsoft.
EC2
instance. It must have blue screened.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like the the Windows car.
Yeah.
Plows straight into a wall because of a mechanical failure. You're like, yeah, not gonna switch to Linux, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I struggle. I struggle to see the point, because I think also, I've been thinking about this a little bit recently, because I mean I saw a kind of, I haven't watched it yet, but Cold Fusion uploaded a video recently about AI music, and
I saw that. I haven't seen it yet either.
But I think for me, personally, I don't know whether this extends to everybody, but personally, a fair amount of my enjoyment of music that I properly listen to, not just it's on in the background, a fair amount of my enjoyment comes from knowing that humans composed and performed that music.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like if a song was called like I don't know, let me think of like a really emotive name, like No More Time to Love.
Yeah.
And that was written by an AI, and you'd be like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
like that was written by Claude, you'd probably believe it, but
yeah, I mean, like I've been kind of, well, I've been exploring the discography of a band called Tesseract quite a bit recently. It's a band that I've been listening to for a while, but I've never really dug deep. And quite a big part of my enjoyment of it, I've been listening to the tracks, but then I've also been watching playthroughs and covers and stuff, and just enjoying watching the people playing the various instruments and like the intricacies and like the amount of skill and just like this raw talent and passion that's gone into making that. And that is enhancing my enjoyment of the music. And I feel like it'd be the same for, like, yeah, with these race cars, like engineers are, you know, they're designing the hardware, they're tweaking various things on it, they're designing the machine learning algorithms and all that, but it doesn't feel the same. It's kind of like the large language model of racing. I feel like the emotional connection with, like, F1's kind of exciting because you know there's someone behind the wheel.
Well, I mean, other motor racing series are exciting because you know there's someone behind the wheel.
Or it has been like, obviously.
Yeah, F1 was exciting.
Before the last couple of seasons, and you know, there's always going to be periods of domination. But the same thing is, it'd be the same thing as like
motorsport.
It'd be the same thing as if like Boston Dynamics started a sports league with their whatever that robot is called, the bipedal robot, playing
no, I agree with the
playing
ones.
football,
Yeah.
and I mean real football, not American fake rugby. I don't actually care, but I just feel like I'll put that out there in case it pisses anybody off. Might make us go viral. I feel like it'd be the same thing. Like you just, I feel like that emotional connection, like that you have, you're connecting with it because it's a living human, like, and you can relate to the experience that they're having, and like the challenge that they're facing and everything. Like that's what makes it enjoyable to follow and to watch.
So here's an example and a question for you. So going back to what you said about music and Tesseract and stuff like that, it's a bit like how if you went to see a music act live, the thrill of them playing it
Incidentally,
live.
I did go to see them live a couple
Wonderful.
of
So
months
if you
ago.
imagine, if you'd gone to see them live and they just turned up, they were all on stage, so they were there, but then they just pressed play on a CD with just the album tracks on. And they're there, they're stood there,
Yeah.
but it's just playing the song. And it would sound more perfect, but you would lose, it would be pointless. No one would go to that. 'Cause it would be a waste of time. But here's my question. What if Tesseract were replaced by robotic instrument players, but the robotic instrument players reacted to the crowd like a human player would? So it's like they would mix things up and they would add in like the kind of random stuff that you get at a live show. Would that be just as good? In the same way that if the AI racing cars would occasionally make mistakes, not so much like they did in the race where they went completely wrong, but they would make like small errors like a human would. Would that then be the same? Or would you still lose something because it wasn't a person?
I think you'd still lose something because you as soon as you ask the question, like, just think, like, how many times, say on the racing example, how many times during an incident do the commentators the commentators say, or you think, or both go, what were they thinking? Well, they weren't. It was a machine.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like engaging in that speculation. Like, how the hell did they cock that up? Well, we don't know. It's just a machine algorithm. It just did a thing based on the algorithm that is cooked up. You can't analyze the psychology of why it happened, or I think
it's the unpredictability, isn't it? It's like
if I feel like, okay, I guess to build on that question that you're asking, I don't feel like it would be the same, but I don't really have a straight answer as to why. I just feel like it probably wouldn't be the same. But if we actually had computers that were genuinely, we'd managed to prove that they were actually conscious, and therefore they are alive, then I feel it would probably be different.
Yeah, that would be different, because I feel like that would be something that where you don't feel like you're not just watching a bunch of ones and zeros try and imitate how a person would behave. Because even if you gave them personalities and you gave them names, you had, like, say, Claude in Car 9, and he's a real hothead and isn't the sort to be committed to relationships, for example.
Yeah, and then in car number 1, you had ChatGPT 3.5.
Yeah, exactly. And then in car number 3, you had Kieran AI, who was real salty with Claude and was just going to send it and take him out and not care. But, like, even if they did that, they wouldn't have the unpredictability that, say, like, a person would, where you have, like, say, stereotypical Max of the olden days, where he would just, like, send it.
Yeah.
But you'd sometimes be surprised with how he'd act, or how he'd react, or how the other driver would not move. So it would never be a set thing. It's not like, oh, Max is going to send it every time.
Yeah.
Oh, Lewis is always going to force him into either colliding with him or going off the track.
I mean, maybe you would. Maybe you would.
I just don't think it would be the same as well, because I don't know. They just.
Yeah.
You lose something because it's not a person.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just like, oh, I may as well. I feel like it's the same reason that, because I think the F1, if the drivers weren't in the cars and they were driving them via RC, that would also have the same problem, even though they're people.
Okay, I've got another example. So some people build machines that make music for performing live. So this could be in a lot of different forms. So have you heard of a band called Wintergarten?
No.
Okay, well, they should totally check them out. But basically, their most popular song is I think it's called Marble Machine or something like that. But basically, one of the guys in the band, basically, he built this big marble machine, and it basically plays the song as he winds this handle. It plays the track, and there's some interaction with controls, but it's basically all like pre-programmed. But it's still cool because he built the machine, so he's still playing. He still made the song. It didn't come up. It wasn't made by the machine, if that makes sense. He built the machine. He put the pegs in the certain places to make the marbles fall in the right way onto the right strings and blah, 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 blah. So that's still, like, watching that is still, you get the same sense as if you were watching a musician physically plucking the strings on a guitar or whatever. So I think that it's different that when you can, you know that the decisions, for want of a better word, that the machine is making, or the actions it's performing, are a direct result of a human's actions or programming or whatever, compared to with these cars or with the example of the AI musician, whether they've got a physical persona on stage or not that interacts with the crowd. It's not a human who's told it to do this specific thing. It's kind of the nature of these artificial intelligences. I still have a problem with calling them that, because I feel like they're actually not technically based on the actual definition of AI, but they're making the decision themselves, but they're not themselves because they don't have any sense of self, so it's not but no human has caused them to do that thing, so no sentient thing has caused them to do that thing, so how could you possibly relate to it? It's like I guess it is artificial intelligence, isn't it, really, because it is artificial being the poignant word. It's not it's simulating sentience and consciousness. I guess maybe artificial consciousness or I don't know.
It's just like not. It lacks a soul.
Yeah.
Sound, you just know that it's not. I don't know. There's a intangible element that it just lacks.
Are we old, Kieran? Is that what's happened?
Are we the vinyl people? Are we like, there's a warmth?
Yeah.
There's a warmth to vinyl, and it's like, even if like scientific studies debunk it completely,
are we just terrified
like,
about becoming obsolete?
No, there's a warmth to humans. There's a warmth.
Well,
it doesn't matter if they can be
some of them.
It doesn't matter if they can be 100% replicated by an AI. Because I was thinking that, I was like, oh god, but what if it could like replicate all the little things, all the little nuances of like a human performance? Because in theory,
would
it
it
could.
matter?
That's the thing. Would it matter, or would there still be that warmth? It's like, God, it's like vacuum tubes, right? God, just that warmth that they add to the sound. It's just, I know that it's,
Here's the thing. Hot take. Warmth is just a specific set of frequencies that can be simulated digitally. I said
yeah, but it's that gold core on the cable. It doesn't matter if it's carrying a digital signal that's either present or not present. That gold adds something. A warmth.
Past a certain frame rate with screens, your mind can't tell the difference between a static image and a moving image. And past a certain sample rate and past past a certain dynamic range, like a frequency response and all that stuff, and on low compression, your brain cannot tell the difference.
It doesn't matter though, because
it's psychological.
There's a feeling to 300 FPS that just the science can't explain, but professional gamers can feel it. You know.
Well, there is an argument to be said that the latency is lower because you're getting a fresh frame more often. So the frame, by definition, has to have been more recent that you're seeing at any given time. So even if you can't perceive the difference in smoothness,
it just feels smoother when you got 300 versus 298 FPS.
Oh yeah, it's definitely worth getting the new.
It's a feeling.
The new hotness in graphics cards for that. Yeah.
Oh, it's just once you reach a certain level, science says that it doesn't matter, but you just feel it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. There's something in a human having made something, the kind of human effort.
Yeah,
that has a value.
What makes it special.
It's like how you.
But is that a commonly held view, or is that just too?
I mean, people go and see paintings.
Sentimental.
People go and see the original version of paintings, even though you can perfectly reproduce them digitally in terms of the image.
Yeah, but the artist didn't physically touch that piece of canvas with that paintbrush and that.
Yeah, exactly, and but people will still go and see the one that they did physically paint, even though you could look at an image of it.
Yeah.
And see it
because they want to see the actual one that the artist. Was in
just for the sake
with.
of. But no one's gonna go and see an AI models. Or maybe they will one day, but no one's gonna see today. Like, if you ask an AI model to generate you an image,
see the first Dogecoin.
no one's. I was gonna say no one's gonna pay for the original, but then I've realised that's basically an NFT, and people will definitely pay for the original.
Unfortunately,
people will
are
pay
that
for the original,
stupid. Yeah,
but they won't pay for it because of the art.
Yeah,
I think is the difference. They'll pay for it because there's money to be made. Well, maybe not anymore.
Well, maybe there never really was. It was all a big.
Well, no, maybe they.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the con all along.
What is money? But
maybe it was all about the friends we made along the way.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe it was all about the non-fungible friends we made along the way. And as a final quick thought, speaking of money.
Yeah. I was about to say that. I feel like
speaking of money.
Speaking of money, I hear that
Claude wouldn't have picked that up.
You have some he would not. You have some coibles, if that's the right word, or even.
Well, I'm really hoping that I don't complain about this, and then you're like
Google Wallet.
Oh, yeah, and I really hope I don't say what my problem is, and you're like, oh, dude, that's like one setting that you need to change.
Okay.
But my Google Wallet has updated, and I don't need to unlock my phone every time I want to use it, and it's now useless to me, and it's slower than taking my card out.
Well, you have to unlock your phone every time you want to use it.
Yeah.
That's good, isn't it?
In a sense, but it's like... So, Google Wallet used to be, I could take my phone out of my pocket, hold it up to the card reader, and it would pay.
But don't you just, take your phone out of your pocket and literally while you're doing that, your thumb's on the the fingerprint reader and then you scan it?
It's just an extra bit of
That's what I've
friction.
literally always done.
My phone unlocks on the back.
Well, can't you put your finger on the fingerprint reader while you pull it out your pocket?
Kind of, but it's sort of a fiddly gesture because I'd have to kind of pull it out of my pocket and then put my finger on the fingerprint reader.
Maybe you should just get a better phone.
And I can't, because it's not on the front as well, I can't just put my phone down on the reader while I'm, validating. I think that's my problem.
Yeah, because my fingerprint reader's in the power button.
Yeah, so it's like, if it was on the front, I'd be fine. I could just hold my finger on it.
So I literally, when naturally how I hold my phone, my thumb falls on the fingerprint reader.
Whereas mine, I'm, taking it out of my pocket and I'm holding it by the side. I then have to, move my finger to the spot on the back. But then while I'm doing that, I can't place it on the reader. Because obviously my finger's in the way.
I'm trying to think, what did I used to do with my old phone? Because my old phone had the fingerprint reader on the back. So that would be...
Well, that's the thing. You didn't used to have to do that, I don't think. With mine, I didn't. Anyway, it's a recent update.
Yeah. Yeah, no, even with the one on the back, I used to... I just kind of got used... my phone kind of came out of my pocket, and as I did that, my finger kind of slid down the back onto the fingerprint reader.
Maybe I've just not got the muscle memory for it, but it's pissing me off.
Yeah, because I always do that as I pull my phone out my pocket. Like literally, I've just got so used to doing the fingerprint thing that it's literally by the time it's in front of my face, the screen's on. So I don't know.
Maybe it's just me.
I think you need to get good. I was expecting something better than this, Kieran. I feel like there was kind of an anticlimax actually. turns out the setting changes in your brain.
Turns out that it's just, if I was an AI, that would just be one tweak, and I'd immediately get used to that. It pisses me off though. Can you imagine though my frustration there?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, but
that it's like
I think you should just get good. Though.
Just get good. It's a user error.
Yeah.
Problem does not exist, because I don't see what problem that was solving though. Because my card doesn't need me to put my PIN in every time I use contactless. So why does my phone?
No, but there's a credit limit though, isn't there, on you how much you can spend on contactless? But there isn't on Google Pay.
Is there not?
I don't think so.
On the contactless, on the RFID.
It's just the same as if you were using your PIN, I think.
I thought that the RFID card was like, it used a virtual card and it had a limit that was the same as contactless. Because it's still a contactless payment.
I don't think so, because I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure I've spent more than £100 on contactless.
Oh, why do they not just make it the £100 limit then?
Well, because then it would be quite irritating. It wouldn't be able to replace your debit card, would it?
Is that what is that the idea of it?
I thought that was the entire. Yeah, that's the entire point of it.
What, that you just never take your card with you?
Yeah, I mean, I always do for the inevitable time that it doesn't work.
Though, don't
but
they?
I barely ever, my wallet barely ever leaves my pocket these days. Pretty much the only time my wallet leaves my pocket is to put it in another pair of trousers or to get my ID out on the now rare occasion I get ID'd.
Well, I thought that it was limited.
Yeah, well...
I just thought that, like, that now feels even. I guess that explains why they were putting the contactless validation thing, because obviously you don't want someone just like forcing you to press your phone against something and it just debits like all of your money. I just figured it was on a limit because it was like that virtual card.
Yeah, I did always used to think it was kind of dodge, but it was so convenient.
Yeah.
Google Wallet.
It was also kind of fiddly if you ever needed a refund, because they'd be like, oh, what's the last 4 digits? And you'd be like, oh, well, I paid on Google Pay, so here's my virtual card.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as my actual card.
Yeah, I think when that happened, though, I did have that happen to me once, but then basically I just put my debit card in the reader and then it worked for the refund for some reason.
Yeah, I had it with... I had to get a refund from NCP, car parks.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I did actually get it in the end. They did accept it, but that was a fan.
Google Wallet payment limit. Payment limit.
There has to be. There's no way you can spend like...
Is there a limit on the amount a single transaction can be? My payment works fine under £100, but over they seem to get declined. I've spoken to my bank who tell me there is no limit.
Oh.
It's set by the app. Is this true? I thought it was like Apple Pay, no limit, thanks. Google Wallet does not have a payment limit, but that's because they are just providing the account number and not actually processing anything. Contact your bank that issued the card you are asking about to ask them about any limits they may have.
Oh, so no limit.
I did a $198.38 tap to pay using Google Wallet recently.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So Kieran just needs to get good.
Hang on. Okay. Do you have to unlock your phone for Google Wallet?
You do now. That's been an update. I promise you.
To make payments with Google Wallet, you must have screen lock set up on your device and verify. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad they have added that.
Well, I'm not. I mean, I am actually, now that you say that there was no limit on it before.
I'm kind of amazed it's taken this long. I just kind of assumed. I think I've always just unlocked my phone. I just assumed that it was.
Oh, no. No, you used to just hold it. I did it anyway. I don't know if I'm on an old version of Android, but I used to just hold my phone up to a card reader and be like, oh, yeah, go for it. I assumed it was on contactless limit.
Well, turns out to assume.
Turns out I'm lucky not to have had
your phone nicked.
Yeah, my phone nicked, my bank account drained, my life ruined.
Yeah.
So
on that note,
yes.
Talking of things that can ruin your life, you can find this podcast on other platforms as well as the one that you're currently listening to.
Yeah, podcast addiction.
Yeah, Pocket Casts, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Spotify, YouTube, all the good ones.
Google Podcasts. No, that's gone.
It actually hasn't.
Well, it is going.
I don't know when it is going though, Kieran.
I had an email to say we can transfer our subscribers on it by July.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that. So maybe July. Oh, it does have now. Okay, after the 23rd of June 2024, you will no longer be able to listen to podcasts on Google Podcasts. I thought it was April for some reason.
I thought it was too, but no, apparently not.
Yeah, 23rd of June. So it's got, as of the time of recording, 1, 2, 3,
about 6
4,
weeks.
5, 6, yeah, about 6 weeks. It's a Sunday, 23rd of June. So there you go.
Join us for our farewell to Google Podcasts.
What a time to be alive! What a time to be alive! Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you every other Monday on your
we'll be back in
platform
2
of choice.
weeks if you're listening to this on Monday. Otherwise, watch the next episode.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and let us know. Would you still listen to this podcast if you knew that it was just two AIs behind these two wonderfully realistic cartoon characters?
Or even just one. If one of the hosts was replaced by Claude, would you still listen?
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Please comment down below and say that you wouldn't.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, there may be a human life at stake.
We'll maybe see you in 2 weeks. If not, Claude will be joining you.
Okie dokie. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.